Well, I just wanted to say that you were talking about Michael earlier, and the thing that really brought me into looking at what he uh, was talking about was not Dave Rubin or Jordan Peterson, but really Sam Harris. Um, he really did a great job of sort of breaking him down to some of my friends who had really kind of fallen into that sort of this is the logical guy trap. And I just really wanted to say that meant a lot to a lot of people. But I also wanted to agree with Kowalski that it's great having Emma on there now because her work at TYT when she was talking to the Trump people, that was it. It really felt like you were seeing these people as people instead of sort of the CNN caricatures.
Right.
So,
Right. Well,
yep,
I appreciate the call. I mean, it's interesting that the Sam Harris
yep.
stuff, if I remember correctly, um, Michael's first podcast that he hosted was, I think it was called Deconstructed, and it was for Reza Aslan. And Michael had studied in Turkey, and this came up on the show yesterday, and was particularly sensitive to um, anti-Muslim rhetoric. And Sam Harris at the time was really and had been for some time. Um, and this was in the early, I guess, teens or mid-teens. Um, was providing this sort of like logical veneer to anti-Muslim, bigotry. And, this, I mean, as far back as like 2004 or five, I think he had written something. I think it was literally the title on HuffPo at the time. This is when, it would take like sort of like reader submission type of stuff. It was more sort of aggregate, was something I believe in defense of torture. Um,
Yeah, that was
and
the title.
and I went back and forth with him on that too a little bit. That was just reprehensible. Again, the whole thing, and we see this in other people these days. I mean, Sam Harris is sort of laying a little bit low with this stuff, but there was a huge, huge, huge debate, political debate raging in the country at that time about torture, as it had become clear that there was a torture regime essentially that was unleashed by the Bush administration. And to weigh in with a hypothetical about how torture can work, which was completely, first of all, it was only hypothetical insofar as there was no data to back up what his assertions were. Whether that there are situations where, someone's in a well, stories like you would see from like Batman,
Oh, Jack
I've got her
Bauer.
in the well. And yes. And I'm going to call her. I'm going to let you go just as I retell this. And to pretend that it was just sort of a philosophical, hypothetical, examination of whether torture could be possible or not. Um, as opposed, you would have to have had no awareness of what was going on around you. And of course, it was also not backed by a data. There are no situations where it's like there's a ticking time bomb. Where certainly there wasn't at that time. There's a ticking time bomb, and therefore we should torture the suspect to get us, to find out where the ticking time bomb is. Because A, experts will tell you that A, that doesn't work. B, there is no ticking time bomb scenario. That's not happening. And C, the other thing that, if I remember correctly, that essay that he never addressed was when you do that, you can't just measure in that moment the efficacy of diffusing that ticking time bomb, but the implications it has for the entire police force. And in fact, the entire policing world as to using that methodology, because they can't always know whether or not there's a ticking time bomb. You don't know that until you torture them, right? Like, I mean, how would you know there's a ticking time bomb, but we don't know where it is? Well, how do we know that there's not a ticking time bomb? Well, torture. That's what worked in that, hypothetical. I mean, and there's no assessment of what the implications are of these things in real life. And you do that because you're trying to attract a certain audience and you're trying to maintain a certain brand or build a certain brand. And that's what he did. That's what he did. Now, I know I'm a psychopath for saying that, but folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.